Hey guys, let's begin working on how we can make enums comparable to a decorator-like pattern. So one of the important things to note is a decorator is a structured design pattern that lets you attach new behaviors to objects by placing these objects inside of wrapper objects that contain the behaviors. Okay, and I've got that from a book that I will link, which is Dive into Design Patterns. Okay, so we're going to keep this nice and simple today. We're not going to add blocks like I typically will, but what we're going to do is first start off with what we are going to do. Okay, now what you have to imagine is that this is a state-of-the-art app where we have a player, where we have its a picture of whatever the character is that we have inside, and we're using a we're using a weapon, and the weapon has three options. It's magical, sharp, and heavy, and depending on what we have, it will contribute to more damage from this weapon. Okay, so that's kind of the thought process, and then when we hit the button, it will go ahead and it will tell us, depending on what is selected, how much damage this weapon will do. Okay, so we are adding functionality, we're adding these values to the weapon, and we're going ahead and do that in our code today. Okay, so first off, let's go ahead and start with the enum. Okay, and the enum, let's just call it weapon, and it's going to have three different ways that it can be. It can be magical, it can be sharp, and it can be heavy. Okay, and those three things. If the weapon contains them all, it'll do more damage that way. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our constant and then constructor. So we're going to do our weapon, and let's go ahead and just finish that off right now. And let's go ahead and, let's not forget a semicolon right here. Okay, and from there, let's go ahead and use the value which we're wanting to give to the widgets, or give to our app, so that it can be a decorator like and add these on. Okay, so let's go ahead and go final, and let's go ahead and make it an int, and let's just call it damage, and this is going to want to be a this.damage for our constructor, and it is complaining because we need to inject the values that we want. Let's just go ahead and say with magical, it's going to contribute to 7 damage. This is sharp is gonna contribute to 5, and then heavy, let's go 3, just because it's easy to do. All right, well, that's it. That's all we're gonna need to do. We can also add other functions that we can call, but let's just stick to this for right now. Okay, and then let's go ahead and work on our app. So let's just go void main, run app, and our run app, I'm just going to do a constant my app. Okay, and this is going to then lead to a stateless widget, and let's just go ahead and it looks like Copilot did okay. Nah, it didn't do okay. Let's go ahead and do it ourselves. So a stateless widget down here, and it's going to be my app. Okay, I really dislike it when it's like this. I like the new and the hip way of doing it with the super, and then we can just get rid of this key right here. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and go on down. Let's go ahead and do a material app. That one, and then let's go ahead and just do a home, and then let's call this my home page. Okay, so from here, we're not going to add a block today. We're just going to be using set state within this app, because I just want to make it nice and simple. So let's go ahead and do a stateful widget, and we're going to call it my home page. And let's just go ahead and fix up the way I like to fix things. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. And yeah, let's do that. Super good. All right. And from here, whenever I name things, a page for me has a scaffold in it. Okay. And we can go ahead and make that constant. And let's go ahead and do things. Let's fix it up. Okay. And so because it's a page, I'm going to go ahead and add my scaffold to it. And that's just a convention that I like to use. Okay, now let's go ahead and just add the typical things to our scaffold. So for example, I'm going to add an AppBar. And let's just keep it very nice and simple, AppBar. And then the title that I'm going to use this time around, let's put it in a text widget. And we're going to call this a decorator Enums as decorators, but I should say decorators, but I'll put decorators like, because it's of course not exactly a decorator. It loses some functionality, but for intent and purposes, we're keeping things nice and simple. And I'll do a video why we're using like enums to keep things nice and simple. It turns out enums are a really fantastic way to refactor into design patterns if the complexity of the app warrants it. But for now, I'm just going to stick to enums because enums are fulfilling a lot of the functionality that I need, and it's keeps the cognitive load to a minimum using enums. And sometimes with decorator patterns, the cognitive load, the technical debt, as it's so called, can get kind of high, especially if we're dealing with all kinds of levels of developers. Okay, so from here, the AppBar, it is done. And let's go ahead from the AppBar, and let's go ahead and add a body. Okay, the body is going to have a center. Okay, and the center is going to have a child, and that child is going to have a column. Okay, because I'm going to want to stack things in here. Okay, and yes, it's going to have children. By the way, if you don't have Copilot, highly recommend it. You have to pay for it now, but it is well worth it, the amount of time that it is going to save you. All right, in the children, let's go ahead and, so the HUD idea is that oh, I don't have it anymore, is that there's going to be a character, a picture that we're going to have, and I'm just going to keep it nice and simple instead of adding all the images into it. Let's just go ahead and add a circle avatar, and then we're just going to save that's going to be our image. Okay, so we're just going to add the circle avatar just to keep things nice and simple. And then here we're going to add a wrap. Okay, now the wrap is going to contain children. And then let's talk about what it's going to contain. Okay, so up here in the state class, let's go ahead and let's do a few things. So first off, let's do a var, and then we're going to do items. Okay, and there's a couple of ways that we could do this, and this is the way that I'm just choosing it. Okay, so let's say that our items are going to contain our I guess not items, let's say items, but we're talking about like the modifiers of the items. So we're going to have a weapon, and it's going to be magical, and then our weapon's going to be sharp and heavy. Okay, cool. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be go var, and let's call this modifiers. Okay, now this is just a simple, nice hack for keeping track of it. There are definitely other ways that you can do it, but I just wanted to keep this nice and simple as possible. Okay, now For the children, let's go ahead and let's do a spread operator, and let's just go ahead and insert the items in here. Okay, now the items are going to contain this, and I'm going to show you a nifty way of doing things just in case you wanted to do, if you wanted just to insert it just from the enums, like all the values of the enums. But right now, let's just say your character's gone along and then they've picked up the ability to make the weapon magical, to make the weapon sharp, and make the weapon happy. Okay, so this is different right here by choosing what's in here versus using every single option that is inside of the enum. Okay, so from down here, I am going to, so I'm going to do map, and then, this seems to be okay, but instead of a chip, let's go ahead and go action chip. Again, action chip allows it to be on tap. It allows you to use on tap. So let's go ahead and get rid of this on delete, because we don't need it. And I think that for our label, what we're going to do is we're going to use the item, and then let's go ahead and use the name, and then let's go ahead and toString. Okay. Then let's go ahead and from here, let's go ahead and add our onPressed functionality. Okay, so we are going to want to do a set state to it, and then we're going to go modifier. Now let's just add a little bit of logic to this. So if the modifiers, let's say for modifier contains, and then if it contains our item, then we're going to remove it, or we're going to add it to it. All right, gosh, I gotta tell you, I love how CoPy is able to predict what it is that I want it to do. It makes programming so much easier. Okay, now I have it set up so that whenever I save it, it's going to fix the lint rules, whatever has been going wrong. So it added the constant right there. So let's go here and let's go ahead and add a floating action button so that it can do things for us. Let's go ahead and add a floating action button. Okay, so when it's pressed, we're going to have it do something. Okay, and we'll get back to that in a moment. And then let's go ahead and add a child, and then to the child, let's just add an icon, and then the icons dot square. Let's just go ahead because it makes me happy. Head and go down here outside, and let's have it do something. So this will be the method that we're going to call. So void, let's say get some, and then let's go ahead and let's just have it inject our weapons. Okay, and then from there, let's go ahead and have it go. Let's go ahead and have it return something. So actually, let's have this return an int. Okay, so this is what it's going to do. It's going to return an int when we press this. So let's go ahead and say let's go int value is equal to get some. Okay, and it's going to be equal to our modifiers. Okay, so we're going to inject our modifiers into it. Okay, so we're injecting our modifiers, and then we're going to want this to return all the values of our modifiers so that we can print it. So let's just go ahead and print value to our console. Okay, now typically, of course, you're going to pass it around. It's going to do other things, but just to keep it simple, we're going to do this. Okay, so this is going to be this is a list of our enum values in here. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and return. And what we're going to return is we're going to go weapons, and then we're going to fold. Okay, so fold is going to take all our values and it's going to cycle through them, and then it's going to return one value. It's going to essentially add all of these up. Okay, so fold. We're going to start with a 0 value, and then we have to go, let's say, previous value, or previous value, and then there's going to be an element that is passed to us, and then from there, let's go ahead, and this is what it's going to return. It's going to return our previous value plus the new element, and it'll be the damage of it. And I think that's good right there. Okay, and let's just go ahead and dartify it a little bit, so using a fat arrow notation because it makes me happy. Okay, so this looks pretty good. All right, let's see if it runs. So let's see if it runs. So when we push the on press button, the value is going to be loaded. The value comes from this get sum. The fold is going to iterate through the weapons, and it's going to add on to itself the previous value starting at 0. So it's going to go 0 plus the new element. So it'll be 0 plus the new element. Then it's going to go on to the next component. It's going to have this previous value, so that's going to be whatever our new one is, and it's going to add it on to the next element. Okay, and it's going to keep going down until we run out of elements to add onto it. When it's all done, it's going to return that value to here. So if we added them all up, it should be 7 plus 5 plus 3, so 3 plus 7 is 10, plus 5 should be 15. So let's go ahead and give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring up my simulator. Okay, so this is our totally awesome character. Doesn't he look great? So we're going to have magical, and from here, let's just go ahead and fix up my screen a little bit right here. All right, so we're going to print to our console. So let's first what happens if we just print? All right, so 0. Magical. Oh, I forgot to do something. Okay, let's go ahead and I forgot to add something right here because I just let Copilot take control for me. To the action chip, let's add a background color. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our modifiers, and if it contains item, then we're going to have it do something. We're going to have the colors equal to blue if it contains it, else the color will be gray. Okay, all right, let's fix this up. Let's see if this works right here. Okay, so magical, okay, cool. So magical selected, 7. Okay, so let's see if we go magical plus sharp, 12. Okay, well, what about if we removed, 5. Okay, and let's go ahead and add them all up. It should be 15. And voila. This is a demonstration of how to use enums as decorator likes. I hope you like this. Please feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you want more of, or if you would like to give me some advice. I'm always very happy to listen and to take it on board. Thank you very much, and happy coding.